What mitzvah are we all about to do? This is for the newcomers, okay, to the show, to the shiur. What mitzvah are we about to do? Learning Torah, right? Now, we could launch into it, or we could stop for 1 second and say, I'm learning mitzvah, I'm learning Torah because you, Hashem, told me to, you commanded me to. The question is, what's the difference? Does that really make a big difference?
Between what and what?
Between learning Torah without stopping first and having intention to learn Torah. Does it make a difference? Is there a difference in, let's say, the reward?
Yes.
Totally correct. Listen to what the Ron says. The original Ron says, he says, take two people who are doing a mitzvah. One does it, he does it, tries his best. The other does it with kavana. Now by kavana, most people think kavana means focus. Here it means intentionality, right? You express your intentions to Hashem. And focus is big, but okay. What's the difference? So the Ron says that I don't care what kind of sophisticated computers you have. AI cannot tell you the difference. He says, Ein Haker. The difference is so great that it can't be calculated. Okay? So it's a big deal, and this doesn't just apply to what we're doing right now, learning Torah. Everything. You smile at your wife, right? You say good morning to somebody on the street. Unbelievable if you do it with intention. Okay? That's what I'm all about these days. Trying to give my life over to this, because it's huge, okay? But now, I just told you it's a big deal. But let's make that make sense for a second, okay? I like bringing this example. Rav Simcha told me about Rav Gantz, one of the great rabbis in recent times, what he said about his wife, like what a tzedekah she was. So let me talk about another great rabbi, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. Okay, Rav Shlomo Zalman did something that most of us don't do. Okay, what do? When we leave the house, we go like this. You know, if we have an interview or a business meeting, you spruce up when you go in, out of the house and into the meeting. Shlomo Zalman, what did he do? Every day he came home and he went, "Oh, I'm going to see my wife." You hear that? He was connected when he saw his wife every day. We tend to fall into, what's the word? Routine and rote. Okay? He was not living by rote. And that's what you said about Rav Gantz's wife, that's all. So, trust me, it's a big thing. You're showing, because the whole thing is, there's a very big popular thing right now, mindfulness, right? Boy, is it popular. And I can understand it, because if you pay a little more attention and you're more present, it feels kind of good. You're actually becoming a little bit alive, right? But what Judaism does is so much more, because we are aware that there's the presence in the present, right? We're with Kadosh Baruch Hu right now, okay? Even though we don't see it, he's here. So therefore, when we stop and say, Hashem, I'm not just sitting here because I love Torah. I'm doing this because you command me to. It's huge. Okay? That's the Hagdama. Now, I want to talk about...
Can you hear it
Okay.
okay?
Louis Refuah Shlema. Good to have you here.
Oh, man, thank you, Rabbi.
Sure. Okay. So, every week so much is going on in the world. And you know, if it's not going in the direction you want, you can feel very powerless, right? I mean, if you're honest, like what? I'm going to influence whether Trump has a ceasefire or not. I'm going to do that, right? We can feel like we can't influence things. We feel powerless. I wanted this week's Parsha is going to show you Bemet, and I promise I'm not just saying this, okay? We are so much more influential than we can fathom. Okay? Unbelievable. You know, nowadays, I mean, the business guys know better than me, but I'm trying to make Kavana an intention global. So I'm learning a little more about business, right? So nowadays, what's one of the most effective marketing things, like getting your product out? What do? Does anyone know? What's one of the? It's like a new approach they have these days. Involves a person or people. All right, influencers. Have you heard that? You get an influencer. You get someone who has 3 million views every time they speak, right? So if they're saying, "I love Kavanah and Mitzvos," I promise you, they're going to know about KLM more, right? So that being an influencer. So the truth of the matter is, we don't realize how much we can be influencers, and that's what I want to talk about. That's point number one. We're going to learn how to have a momish global impact, and I promise I'm not just saying that. Okay, number one. Number two. This exile we're in right now, it's a pretty gruesome one, and most people will tell you what exile are we in right now? Let's see if people say it or they say the one that most people think. What exile? The Jews have been in exile for thousands of years. What's the name of this exile? Oh, well, that's the period, right? We're in the footsteps of the Mashiach. But here, I'll give you an example. We were in Bavel. We were in Golos Bavel and Golos Pras. And which one are we in now? Edom. Now that's generally true, but Rev Moshe Shapira, Zetzal, he was Megala. There's another major exile. And by the way, once a great rabbi sees something, then you go, oh, right. Actually, many people are saying this. There's another Golos we're in right now. Yishmael. Golos Yishmael. It says there's midrashim that say that this is going to be the most painful, brutal Hashem Yirachem. Golos is the Arabs. Yishmael. Okay, very, very difficult Golos. And there are books I can point you in the right direction where they talk about it. It's like a combination. It's a combination of Edom and Yishmael. That's not simple. All right, Edom did their part with the Shoah, and now look, we're facing Ishmael big time. Okay, so now we know this. Oh, this is a Rev Tzvi Aryeh Ingber point. Okay, Rabbi Ingber points out that this exile business was in the beginning of the creation, right? It says Hashem Bereshis bara Hashem es Hashemayim v'sa'aretz, and then it talks about the world being tohu vo, right, desolate, void. So the Midrash immediately says, this is Golos Bavel. This is Golos. We're meant to struggle with being in these foreign environments that are very unpleasant until the Mashiach comes. Okay? Please God, we're getting close. Now, what do you think you're supposed to learn from being in a particular Golos? I'm really asking. It's not rhetorical. If I find myself, here, I'll give you an example. Golos Pras, right? That's that. And we know there's kind of these things are welling up in certain ways. But what was Pras characterized by? Persia, Achashverosh. What was that like? What was that culture all about? We're getting there. Taiva, right? Indulgence. Achashverosh was compared to a bear that has no rest. Everyone's seen at the zoo, right? When the bear's going like this. And you see people in shul like this too. Right? Ein lo menucha, right? No tranquility, right? Because they were so involved in taiva and things like this, okay? So, why would Hashem what's the purpose of Hashem putting us in an environment like that? I mean, obviously we hadn't been on top form or we wouldn't be in exile. But still, though, is there anything that's an accident? No one's sitting here right now. It's not an accident who you're sitting next to, what day it is. Nothing's an accident. So what is the purpose of Hashem putting us in these particular cultures?
benefit us?
Okay, in what way? They certainly seem to be pretty lousy. Yeah, you're right though. Think about it. How does it benefit us to be there?
The tshuva
From what?
from their hefkeris.
Exactly. What here? That's the point. Okay, Rav Moshe Shapiro again. We find ourselves. You got to daven with him all the time, right?
Every morning.
Wow, unbelievable.
Thank God.
He put out all that Torah after Nates. But anyhow, so Rav Shapiro explains they have an exaggerated level of some bad character trait that we have. And we're put there to overcome that, okay?
Would you say that again, please?
Yes. Yeah. Here, let's take Persia again to say. They had an exaggerated level of lust and greed and indulgence. That was Persia.
That's why I'm sitting next to Labe?
No. Okay. You're asking a difficulty. Give me a little time. Okay. You're not in exile when you're sitting in a room of people who are coming to learn Torah, right? And they're over 20 years old. That's not exile. But I'm saying the exile when you're in a bad environment, there's something they've got that's negative. We have it, but they're like the extreme of it. Okay, so where am I heading? To Yishmael. Okay, we are not. It's not an accident. We're surrounded by Yishmael, and it must be something very important for us to do before Hashem says, "Game over. Come home, my children." Right in the Geula. Okay, because this is it. We have Edom and Yishmael. There's nothing after this, and we see what's going on in the world. Who knows how close we are, but it's unbelievable. Okay. So we have to think about it, and I think this isn't a hard question. What is Yishmael's character in the negative? Wild. Yes, and what were you going to say? Right, say, oh yes, that's part of it. But he's called a para Adam, right? And again, I guess this year is a expression of Rav Moshe Shapiro. Actually, every point is actually coming out to be him. I think he was the one who said that it didn't say he's an Adam para, right? Which means his essence is a person, but he's wild. It says he's a para Adam. So he's a wild animal, right? That has the exterior, an adjective describing he looks like a human, okay? So, that's them. We like to point out there, and we see it, it's horrible. The ones that are terroristic are a tremendous example of this, okay? What is it in us that is, let's say, wild in a negative way that we have to fix? All right? Now, this one, I mean, you can try, but I wouldn't expect you to know that. We don't seem like that. We do not seem like these wild animals in the Gaza tunnels. We don't seem like that. But what's the common quality? Okay, so we have two categories. We have a behema and a chaya, right? Behema is a domesticated animal, and then the chaya is a wild animal. What category is a sus, a horse?
Could be either.
Yeah, I know it looks like it, but in general,
Wild
it's
animal.
wild horses. Right, there you go. I did that for mine. Yeah, why did he leave? Wild horses. Okay, so wild. We are compared to wild horses, says Yirmiyah Navi, when we don't do something important. Okay, that's the secret, and that's what this class is about. Okay, just to prove that we can be wild is this. I love this. I saw this Rev Avi Fishoff. I don't think he's related to David, but anybody, if you're dealing with kids and stuff like this, okay. But all right, but that's the Nimshal. So you have an actor. It's like one of those Shakespeare things, right? So he's playing. His role is that there's going to be a cannon shot, And when the cannon shot, he's going to go, hark! Wherefore art thou? Let's say he just says hark, and he just asks a question, right? So they keep exploding the cannon. He goes, hark, exploding the cannon, hark, exploding the cannon, hark, right? Night comes to the show, explode the cannon. Ah! He didn't say hark, and he like freaked out. That's us with our kids, right? No, I should be calm. Okay, I know he's going to press my button, but, I shouldn't. Why are you doing that? Right? We act impulsive, or our wife presses her button. I'm using married men's thing, but everybody gets their button pressed, right? And you know better, right? Right up here, I shouldn't react like that. I shouldn't make a poor taste joke. I shouldn't, just lose it, right? But we lose it, don't we? If we're honest. What's that? Excellent. We choose to lose it, but we don't. Do you want to lose it? You don't, right? You know that when you get upset and you get like this, you don't want to. But you're right. If you do it, you chose it on some level. Okay?
When you know that you can choose, you really know that you can choose controlling and manage your
Emotion.
anger,
Yeah, I see.
emotion, you think not even 3 seconds. It's with no time. It's just you control your emotion, and you become perfect in that kind of sense. But because you are godly, and people forget it.
Beautiful.
And this is the thing that they need to remember, and they can do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to get there. I'm going to talk about very practically how to get there, and it's going to be from this week's parsha. So I'll tell you, what is it that the Navi calls us like wild animals, right? It means we have this impulsivity. There's nothing more impulsive than Yishmael, but we're there. Hashem's saying, get rid of your impulsivity, okay? All right, we're going to, tell me your name again. Yitzhak said a beautiful angle. We'll get there. But, right, how do we rid ourselves of that impulsivity in the moment? Okay, that's when. So what what Rav Shapiro says like this: you need to do Heshbon HaNefesh. What's Heshbon HaNefesh? Moshe, what's Heshbon HaNefesh?
An examination of the self.
Right, of the self, right. Right, that's a good translation of nefesh. It's like yourself. Or a soul. It's also the soul, but it's the lower part of your soul. That makes perfect sense, actually. You have the nefesh, ruach, and neshama, right? So the nefesh is most connected to the animalistic side, para. Okay, so you have to do a cheshbon of your impulsivity, of your para. Okay, I mean, also, by the way, ruach. By the way, the ruach also is responsible for like one of the worst things in the negative. What is the ruach connected to? Breath, for sure. And what else?
Knowledge.
Gaiva, yes. Gassas ruach. They always say ruach. So we have gaiva. What else? It's how we're defined by Unkelus, the famous thing. How does Unkelus define us? The person. A person is a ruach mamalala. Speech. Speech is in the ruach. Lashon hara. Okay? And gaiva. These things are there. So we really have to do a heshbon nefesh and ruach. But you know what the Nefesh Chaim says? Your neshama. Sin doesn't blemish your soul. It's like above it all. Okay? But we need to do this. Okay. So what I just said, what the whole thing I'm trying to do here is do things with intention. So in order to do heshbon and nefesh, I don't want to just tell you to do it, how to do it, how we can defeat Ishmael. I want you to have kavanah for the mitzvah it is. So let me ask you, what mitzvah are you doing when you do heshbon and nefesh? Okay, good. So one is tshuva, repenting. Okay, tshuva. We can is tshuva, and there's one other. I could bring out two others, and I'm going to focus on tshuva. But what else? Anything else? When you do a cheshbon nefesh, what mitzvah are you? What? Tikkun midot, and you know what that is? That's the mitzvah of emulating Hashem's perfection. Every time you identify a chisaron, a lacking, and you remove it, you're more like Hashem. So that's a mitzvah of lakta b'dracha, and there's a mitzvah tshuva. I'm just looking for one more. One more mitzvah when you do cheshbon nefesh. Simcha? No? Yiras Hashem, right? You care about the consequences. So it's also Yiras Hashem. But let's just talk about the tshuva one, okay? A couple weeks ago, we had a very kind of powerful interchange, and you over here, Ronnie, when you start to feel how close we may be to the end and how tense things are going, thank you. When you start to feel that, you start to say, I don't know if I'm ready, right? Remember that discussion we had? Like it's a little heavy, especially a bit older. Am I ready? Am I ready to meet Hashem and the Mashiach? Am I ready? It's like a scary thing in a certain sense, right? So this is a way to get ready. Okay, everyone's saying, what do I do? Yeah. By the way, if the Mashiach comes, it's like game over. We're not going to be able to grow through heroism and struggle anymore. It's just going to be easy development of our soul, and we're going to realize. I know that sounds great, but no.
Answer.
Huh?
We get the answer. You don't.
It says there's a midrash. It says there are days she'ein bo chayfetz, days that don't have desire, and it says those are times of the Mashiach where there will be no more reward for your efforts. That's what it says. About that time. Okay, so let's talk after. Okay, all right, good. Let me just show you the part in the Parsha. Okay, so and this is also where I want to go back. I said we can be global influence. We can be much more influential than we know. Okay, so if in Parshas B'Midbar, let me just share this with you. It's based on Gemara and Baba Basra. In fact, those who've read Messias Yesharim, you know the thing with the maze, right? It's a famous metaphor that if it's a maze in Versailles, if you will, and you go any direction you go to get out, it all looks the same and you can't get out. How do you get out in the metaphor? Do you remember how do you get out of that maze? What? Well, somebody who's up above, like an umpire, like, in the tennis, they had the umpire up there. So if there's somebody above the maze, right, he can tell you, go, make a right, make a left, and then you're out, right? So the Ramchal brings that, and he says, what's the nimshal is it's very hard for us to get out of the prisons we make for ourselves, right? We get stuck. It's hard for us to overcome our Yitzhar. It's hard for us to overcome impulsivity, etc., right? So he says, who's on the top? He says, these are the moshlim. What's a moshel? Ruler. He says, let's look at the rulers say. It's in this week's Parsha, Parshas Hukatz. Let me read this to you. It says, Al Kain Yomru HaMoshlim. Therefore the Moshlim, the rulers said this. Ready? Ba'u Cheshbon. Can someone translate? Come make an accounting. All right? It's all about accounting. Right? The rulers make an accounting. What is the accounting they make? Okay, so this is Gemara and Baba Basra. It says like this. And remember, we're working on trying to overcome impulsivity, which means that we're trying to tikkun midos, and we're going to get an approach towards tshuva out of this. So have in mind that we're doing the prep for that by understanding this Gemara. It says like this: Amoshlim, Ela Moshlim b'Yitzram. The rulers, these are people who are ruling over their drives and inclination. Hark! They're not going, whoa! When the cannon goes off, okay? These are people who are in control. Okay, so what does it say? Bo cheshbon, make an accounting. Now, this accounting is in Pirkei Avos, and it's what Rebbe said. Rebbe says if you make this accounting, you won't fail. You won't sin. All right? So what is the counting? I'm going to skip a word here because it's a big point. I just want he says like this. Hefsed mitzvah keneged schar. Think of the loss involved with a mitzvah vis-a-vis its reward. Okay? The schar avera keneged hefseda. And the reward of an avera vis-a-vis its loss. Okay. Now, isn't that a little strange? I mean, in the Torah, it tells you, it hints at reward you get at least in this world, right? Or punishments, right? Why would you want to bring up the downsides of mitzvahs? Here, it's saying, think about the downsides when you do a mitzvah. And now, it's true, it says, compare it to the reward. Okay, we get the math. But also, it says by Averas. Think about the reward of the Avera. And then think about loss. Why bring that up? Why bring up the downside of sin of mitzvahs? Why and then why bring up the reward you get when you do an Avera?
Because in the Avera you have the correction, you have something you need to deal and learn about yourself. Yourself is your body, and the body needs to be connected to the spirit.
This guy's good. Where did Yitzhak come from, Rabbi? Oh, you brought him. Yeah. Not that you're not good, but he's on fire. Moshe, get your. I'm teasing. No, so here's the thing: is if you don't pay, I'll give you an example. My Rebbe, Rabbi Green, we used to do the Kufa Tzedakah routes, right? You do the route with Machoil still. I envy you. You can envy people on mitzvahs. Okay, so we used to collect tzedakah, and I used to do actually with Sviare. Rabbi Green came with 10. So I said, "Wow, I have like a half hour with my Rebbe. I'm gonna take advantage of the time." So I asked him something I've been waiting for. I asked him. I say, "Rebbe, I've been working on Heshbon and Nefesh, okay, and I gotta be honest with you. When I do it, I'm inconsistent in doing it at all, okay? And when I do it, it's very superficial." Good question, right? You know what he said to me? He says, "You don't want to do Heshbon and Nefesh." I said, "What do you mean I don't want to? I'm asking you how to improve." He said, "You don't want to do it." And he didn't explain it, but then I got it. Part of me, why was I skipping it? And why was I doing it superficially? Because some part of me didn't want to do it. Exactly. Right. So here's the thing. What if to do mitzvahs, you have to realize there is some loss, there's some resistance. You have to be aware of the oppositional force inside of yourself in order to overcome it. Okay? And the same thing with Averas. Okay? You're not doing and I would say it's a Avera per se, but you're not doing the wrong thing. I know this sounds obvious that you enjoy some aspect of Avera, but if you really want to work on it, you have to put it on the table. You have to make it conscious. And if you don't make it conscious, you're gonna lose. Okay? So the thing is this. This is the way to do our part against Yishmael. Okay? If you're not in Gaza right now, okay? If you're not in Gaza right now, what can you do? Okay? I told you I learned the most incredible approach from this soldier in Gaza. His father asked him, he got back, he had a little break. His father asked him, he said, "What was it like down there?" Right? I mean, so he says, "Dad, Abba, I can't tell you." Why? He says, the whole time, he has a helmet, and in his helmet, there's the mifaked, right? The commander, or whoever's leading it. he says, I spent the whole time listening to my commander, and I was like this all the time to make sure some wild beast doesn't come out of a hole, right? So right, that's the whole thing. So this is what I'm trying to say about kavanah mitzvahs. If you have consciousness right now, we're in front of the commander, okay, all the time, and he's giving us instructions in every situation. If you know Torah, like right now, learn Torah, try to work on yourself, right? That's the command right now. But also, you realize that there's a Yetzer Hara who's trying to come out and surprise you and take your focus. Here, I learned so much from that, okay? But here's the point. I think he's right. I should have a drink. 1 second, please. I'm going to do the art of a bracha. Art is this. Baruch atah is awareness, reverence, Hashem Elokeinu, and then thanks. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam shel kol niyeh divro. Okay. By the way, I want us to do Heshbon Nefesh right now, but I have just a little more to explain, and then I want us to try to do this, okay? Because I think it's huge. All right. This was, by the way, this is famous that Paro just kept us busy, so we wouldn't do this, right? Right now, distractions. It's cliche to talk about how many distractions there are and how easy it. But the bottom line is that is the way in which Yishmael gets the Yishmael in us gets unleashed, because if we're distracted, we're caught off guard, and we don't feel we have time to make a heshbon. Okay, so here's what it says. I left out a word. It says heshbono shel olam. It says we should make an accounting of the world. Now the Rambam says, I need to find out that other Rambam. The Rambam says that, and here, this is a book called Eved Melech, and in the Eved Melech, Rav Hummer says, we have a mitzvah to be, here comes the Hasidus, to be Tzaddik Yisod Olam, right? Tzaddik Yisod Olam. So he says, we have a mitzvah to be a Tzaddik Yisod Olam, B'kol Yom, every day, all of us, not just the big guys. Every day, B'kol Ace, every time, period, and situation, every moment. Okay? So how can we be Tzaddik Olam, a global level Tzaddik? All right? The Rambam says we do this. We look at our situation, and let's look at it right now. Okay? Things can go any way right now. Okay? With what's going on globally. When I say any way, please God, we know Hashem's going to pull us through, but it could be ugly what could happen. Look what happened. Look what happened right before the ceasefire. A missile goes into a protected room and kills 4 people. That one moment, look what happened. Rahman Islam. So, here's what a Tzaddik Olam, a world level Tzaddik does. He says, if I do a mitzvah right now, I tip my scales to be a tzaddik, and the world's going to go up. If I do an avera right now, chas v'shalom, I bring myself down, and the world's going down. That's what you're supposed to be. Could you imagine the level of consciousness you would have if you're living like that every moment? Right? Right now, when I go home and see the person, okay, which way I'm going to tip it, right? That's the consciousness. Every moment so have in mind right now that we're going to be Tzaddik Olam, okay? We're going to be on the level, we're going to think about the impact on the world of my actions, okay? And I promise you, you'll be a global influencer. Come on. We know that behind the bottom line decision of what happened when that missile went into the apartment, the bottom line decision was Hashem. Okay? We are the ones who have the most influence. We really do. Okay? We all have to just take our role. We're soldiers. We don't know our particular level, but we know what to do. We know we have to make this heshbon, this accounting. All right? So I like everybody. And as Moshe said, the main thing here is, doing tshuva. It says that the gula, right? It says one condition that has to happen first, Klal Yisrael does tshuva. But we don't know who has to do what. We don't know. It may not be that some completely assimilated doctor has to do. We don't know what the threshold is, okay? But we do. Everybody has to do something. Like, when Hashem shake things up, Rahman Islam, in October 7, there was probably not a Jew in the world wasn't at least more conscious that he's Jewish, okay? Everybody is being at their level. We're in the spot, okay? So let's do something huge right now, okay? I want us to do a heshbon, okay? Take a piece of paper or use your phone, all right? Use something, or do we have a piece of paper? Yeah, I want everybody, you'll thank me for doing this, okay? I'm going to give you a little way to do it, approach. Should we get some paper? Do we have paper? Does everyone pen? I have pens. Okay. Can we pause this first? No, we'll let it go and they can edit it. Okay. Not my problem. Excuse me. I blew it. He's gonna give me a hard time. Okay, what'd I do? Oh wow. He's he's just tipped the world to the better. Okay. All right, or do you have phones? I mean, I think it's beautiful. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Who wants to do it by paper? Okay. Take the paper. Trust me. Okay. Oh, that's great. That's even small. Okay. All right, everybody. Rabbi Gold is a role model on this. He didn't need this class. I'm telling you. No, honestly, you're so lucky to have him as a Rosh Yeshiva. He is so consistently doing the right thing. Okay. Ronnie. Right, okay, that's honest. Okay, honesty is definitely the good way to start. Okay. All right. So haven't been a mishkiach for a few years, please. I kind of know what some of the more popular averas are. So I'm going to mention them, okay? And if it happens to relate to you, okay. But, okay. So let's make 2 columns, okay? All right. One is mitzvahs, okay? And the other one, Shem Yerachem Averos, okay? 2, you need a pen? Okay. Sorry, my Hashem found one for you. Okay. Let's start on the Avera side. Okay. I'm gonna maybe throw out some common ones, but you can also think about what you tend to have a struggle with. But here, very common is anger. Is giving a list here, which also.
That's not my
Okay.
problem. Good for you.
Okay.
Good for you.
Okay. Lashon.
For you. What-
Next, Lashon
what-
hara.
Write it down.
Yeah, right. If it speaks to you, write it down.
Well, but listen,
Okay.
Okay. I like a little Lashon Hara.
Okay. No sarcasm.
Yeah, that's put that on there.
Yeah, it's called late sonus. Okay. We said anger, lashon hara, sarcasm. That's yes, exactly. Inappropriate thoughts.
Oh, just thoughts? Okay.
Well, you know what I mean. If it's do you know what I mean by inappropriate thoughts, or let's say looking at things. Right. Shmirat einayim. Right. Okay. All right. All right. Then wasting time, because wasting time is bittul Torah, and it says that the base of Mikdash was destroyed. One of the reasons because of bittul Torah. Okay. The first, I think it was the first one. I think. Okay. Let's go now to mitzvot. Now, what I want here in mitzvot. All right. Now, no, it's not. Thank you, Moshe. Now take a minute and Add your own personal ones. No, not accepted. Put your own things now. Think if there's any other averas you're aware of, write them down. That's super important. Okay. If I didn't capture it, please think of things that you did. Okay. Here I'm going to write one. Saying brachos without kavana. Okay, like.
Isn't it there?
Well, yeah, because it says it's usher to throw a bracha out of your mouth. Yeah, so, okay. By the way, Hashem knows we're trying, and this I'm just trying to say here that this can be very healthy to do, yeah. Okay, but no, some people don't want to look at the negatives, but okay. Anyhow, good. Take a few seconds to think of any other particular things that you have a problem with. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Looks like people can use like a minute or so. See, well, I hope that the people who are looking at this on the video do this. The whole thing I try to do is not tell you to do something later. Let's do it right now. It's going to be huge. Okay? All right. Now, mitzvos. What do I mean here? Okay? So, what you're told to think about, you think about the loss with mitzvos. Okay? So here, let me mention some mitzvos, and we're going to think about maybe what's getting in the way of us not doing the mitzvah better or more often. Okay, so first one, let's just say, is learning Torah. Okay, praying and with kavana, it's sort of a flip side of the other. Giving tzedakah. Expressing love to which one? Expressing as a hatzreacha kamocha, loving your fellow Jew like yourself. So let me explain. I'll answer that. I'm glad you asked. I did tailor this. Okay, expressing love. So the Rambam says that the two ways to primarily love your neighbor, one is that his kavod or his self-esteem should be as important to you as your own. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, encouragement and love, expressing these things, that's a way to build his sense of his self. Okay, all right. Okay, and then, like, Hesed in general, Hesed involves visiting someone who's not well, or going to a levaya, or saying Tehillim for people in trouble with kavana. Okay, these are some mitzvahs. All right, so now very good, exactly. That's I think praying with kavana, but iyun tefillah. Yes.
Keep it off.
Iyun tefillah means like to really focus on your tefillah. Kibud av, and that even if your parents are not alive, kibud av ve'em. I try to remind that. Unfortunately, I lost both my parents in the past year, but whenever I think of, I want to do this mitzvah better than normal for their illness, or just do it, it's kibud av. Thank you, David. Okay, so now we're going to just do two more things. Okay. We're,
This is straight out of the Mishnah.
Yes, yeah. Oh, look at those are the primary. This is beautiful. Exactly. Okay, so now, but that you were said that. I'm just thinking. Also, I was thinking about tzitzis and tefillin, like having intention and focus when you're wearing them, not doing them by rote. But I'll just tell you a mitzvah, for example, with tzitzis, it's not enough just to say, Shir Kiddush HaMitzvah tzitzis, right? And then go up there. You should say, I'm wearing tzitzis to remember the mitzvos. Tzitzis is Gematria 600, 5 knots, 8 strings. That's how you do tzitzis. So it's like upgrading. Okay, just take a look. We're going to take a minute now. I want you to look at the Averas and try to think what is whatever's most your issue, wherever you're struggling with a certain Avera. I want you to think about, what am I getting out of this? Okay, we're going to do that Heshbon of the world. Think about, what am I getting from this? And then we're going to, of course, compare it to what am I going to lose. Okay, just take one. Everybody just take one on your list of Averas, okay, that you know you're prone to. And take a moment and think, what am I getting about it? Reflect on that. And then think about what the consequences are going to be. Okay? Let's do it. We're doing tshuva right now. Have in mind the mitzvah doing tshuva. Vidui tshuva, heshbon and nefesh. Okay.
When you say consequences, what are you referring to?
Okay. So Lashon Hara. Let's take Lashon Hara. Two things. There's, first of all, I'm really glad you asked that. I mean, in the negative, like what's going to be a negative?
Consequences.
Okay,
I know what the consequences.
so here I'll do Lashon Hara for you. Okay.
No, that's probably more
Yeah.
easier.
Right. So Lashon. Okay, so
let's say anger.
All right.
So what's the consequences? What are the negative?
Okay.
What's
All right.
Hashem's?
Yeah, okay. Yes. All right. So, well, let me do both, just to give an example. Okay. This is the type of thing. If you do this reflection exercise, you're weakening Yishmael. I just want to remind you of that. Okay. And also, let's just remember. Okay. This is the whole thing. The Yetzer Hara wants to minimize the importance of what you're doing. Okay. So we want to remember that right now this exercise is can tilt our own souls and our own lives to the good and the world. Okay, so I'm going to answer Moshe's question. I want to start with
Let me
Lashon.
ask you a quickie also.
Yeah, sure.
Where does just some basic human frailty enter into it? I mean, I never heard of the Yetzer. What if I never heard of the Yetzer Hara before? I don't know what you're talking. I'm not doing Ethel.
Right.
But I don't know what you're talking about. Like the evil inclination.
You want me to discuss
There's an
that?
idea, huh?
Yeah, go ahead,
Well, but
please.
there's some idea that most people know, since they're, about human frailty, of not being able to, lift the big,
Wait.
the big bundle. Yeah.
Right.
So
How does that play in
how
here?
does that
Okay, so I'm going to do that first and then go back to this exercise. Okay. We think that Behira Chavshit, like free will, it's 50-50, right? I have 50 pulling me this way, 50, and it's not true. The Gemara says that the Yetzer Hara is stronger than us, and if it's not for Hashem, we would always fail. And that was rigged that way, Ronnie. We're frail, we make mistakes, and this, that, so we pull in Hashem. Okay, Shem says, don't become like a spiritual athlete. I know you're weak. Get my help. Get my help, right? I know you're frail. He sets it up that way. And he also, Yetzer Hara is a really good psychologist at psyching us out, making us feel bad and feel powerless, right? It's intentional. So we go, Hashem, please, he's going to kill me without your help. I'm frail. I'm frail is an act of humility, and it can build a relationship with Hashem that's precious. Okay, that's what I want to say on that. Now let's go back to this Lashon Hara. I want to start with that. Okay, so here's an example. Okay, Lashon Hara. Why did I speak Lashon Hara? Because my ego got bruised. Okay, or someone hurt me. Someone didn't do what I wanted them to do, and I expected them to do it. Or someone just rubs me the wrong way. Okay, so when I speak Lashon Hara, I feel like I'm getting back at them, and it feels so good. My ego just gets like calmed and solved to my ego. Okay, all right. So that's the gain of an avera. Okay, now I have to ask myself, Is it worth it? Okay. Because, first of all, this is, they say this about resentment. When you have a resentment person, I love this. It's like an AA thing. They said, when you have resentment for a person, it's like you're eating poison, expecting the other guy to die. Who's suffering when you have resentment, right? So when I'm doing this, when I'm putting this, I'm like lowering myself, just lower and lower. Is that a good way to boost your ego? Oh yeah, you get. But so I'm lowering myself. I'm feeding my ego in a negative way. These are some of the losses of speaking lashon hara. Okay, with anger is basically the same, but ready and worse. Okay, lashon hara is causing damage to the person I'm speaking about. I'm harming them. I'm harming the listener, and I'm a key cause in the base of Mikdash remaining destroyed. Okay, lashon. The Havetz Chaim says that sinas hinam is the underlying thing, but it was the lashon hara that leads to the destruction and the success of the Hamas and the tunnels, Yamak Shema. Okay, anger, what we can add, anger is very much similar to all those things, right? But anger is, the Gemara says, it's like you're doing avodah zarah. It's like worshiping idols. Idols are bad. That's high up on the list. Okay, so this is the exercise. But by the way, you don't have to do it a lot. Okay, don't let the Yetzer Hara trick you. But if we would do this once a day at night, they say. But be careful. Night is a good time because you finish the day and you have the records in, right? The problem is you're usually exhausted, right? So it's better to do it now. Anytime you feel good, do this, okay? But look, okay, and then now let's just do the heshbon on the mitzvos, okay? All right. So since I'm working a lot about kavana, so we said Ian tefillah and praying with kavana, right? So what's the loss of that? Okay.
What's the loss of not doing the mitzvah?
Yeah, no, of doing, of not, no. What? Yeah, right. What's the loss involved in praying with kavana? Okay, what's
the loss?
Yeah, I'm going to make it, huh?
Loss in praying with Kavana?
Yes. Ready? Because it says consider the downside of praying with kavana versus rotuar. Okay, so it's it's hard to concentrate. It hurts to think. Okay. It hurts to be patient, okay? Ouch, That's the thing, you hear? It takes, you're tired, right? You're tired. It's hard to focus when you're tired and when you're distracted, right? So that's the downside of having kavanah, is it's gonna take some to overcome that, okay? What's the upside? What the upside is, first of all, you're giving Hashem the only thing you can give him, your heart. Rahmana liba, boy. Hashem wants your heart. Okay? It's the most precious thing. When you become present, when you overcome everything else to be connected to Hashem, okay? You're building we call it your inner strength. Okay? You're cultivating inner strength when you do this. Okay? You're going to have a bliss in the world to come. Okay, that's an example. Maybe I'll give one more. Tzedakah. Tzedakah is a big one, okay? Because tzedakah is sort of obvious that, money I could have for myself, I'm giving it out. I'm giving away my resources, right? Or if I give to someone, maybe they're going to start nagging me all the time. Right? There's all these negatives in quotes about giving tzedakah, right? Let me tell you a little bit about the upside, okay? It says tzedakah rescues from death. There are many stories about that. Tzedakah also, if a person was supposed to suffer in Gehenna, the Gra says, Mishlei, you don't have to get that part of Gehenna. And Gehenna's really bad. But tzedakah also helps you in your daily life, okay? In other words, it doesn't just save you from death. it brings all sorts of hidden blessings. Okay, so this is the heshbon. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, "Do this and you won't sin." It said, was the Ramchal said, "This is the umpires. This is what they're telling you. Do this particular heshbon. Spend a little time like this." But let's the last thing, and let's just say this also is the tefillah to Hashem. Okay, Akash Baruch. Oh, so Akash Baruch Hu, I intend to. Okay, I'm going to offer you to be a global influencer. Okay. Bli neder Akash Baruch Hu, since we're close to the end, since a lot of people's lives are at stake right now, there's hostages, there's soldiers in danger, there's all sorts of, there's anti-Semitism like going through the roof around the world. Akash Baruch Hu, I intend to bli neder, do this analysis for about 3 minutes a day, for 4 days a week. Bli neder. Bli neder. And Akash Baruch Hu, I'm going to try to be mindful also that if I get rid of an avera or do a mitzvah, I'm tipping myself and the world to the good. And it's a tefillah to you, Akash Baruch Hu, to really just bring us home. Okay? And now I just want to make 2 practical points, okay, based on psychology. If the best thing you can do right now, if you want to take this on, is get somebody to partner with you, or they don't even have to do it. They just say, "Can I tell you once a day, or can you ask me, did I do my heshbon?" Okay, it's called an accountability partner. It's a very helpful concept, right? So get somebody in this room, get somebody to just commit. I'm suggesting 4. Next thing, let's say you forget to do it, or you don't do it. So it's a Beferish Jerry Seinfeld. Okay, don't break the streak. Okay, try to have a streak, but don't break it twice. Okay, if you miss one day, clean yourself up and do it the next day. Okay, so I repeat, couple of minutes, once a day, 4 days. Get someone who will ask you if you did it, or even better, someone, a partner to do it. And if you miss it, just get back on the wagon. Okay, all right. So Hashem should help us. Like I said, we are influencers. We just maybe not believe it, but we're global influencers if we do this. Okay.
Hey, you should go.
Shir shir chadash,